thank you for tuning in to Level Up with Sharie Wilson. And today, my co-host, I would say, right? Because I really don't have guests. I have co-hosts. And we have Coach Jay.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So the other day, Coach Jay was in here and she brought her daughter a couple weeks ago to get her hair done. And we just started talking. And then we end up going to breakfast, the following week or 2 weeks later?
Yes.
And we just had a conversation and it was just like, we need to talk about this and post it, right? And it's about trauma, and we all have trauma. This book, you gave me this book in 2023. I want to say it was 2023, or was it 2024?
What year are we in? 2026.
We're in 2026.
Yes. So about a year and a half, two years.
Yeah. And I remember you was like, I just want to give you this book. I just want to give you this book. And you had no idea what I was in. Well, maybe you did. Maybe the spirit told you. I don't know. But you gave me this book for a reason. And man, it was everything that I was going through.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of opened me up to understand, like, Sharie, you still got so much more work to do, right?
Wow.
And so first of all, I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I want to say thank you for having that conversation on that couch and going to breakfast with me, and just the dialogue was just amazing.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So what made you write this book? Trauma is a choice.
Well, God is the one who had me write the book. So he put this vision in me about maybe 6 years ago when I started to go through my own traumas. But I didn't realize, as a lot of us don't, when we go through things, most of the time it's not even for us. It's for us to go through the process, but then turn around and use it as a testimony to be able to help others and bring them out of whatever they're going in. And so the title of the book is Trauma Chose. And this title, it catches a lot of people's attention. I actually had a different title when I first wrote the book, but that I was trying to trademark it and it was taken. And so I was like, God, that was a dope title you gave me. How am I supposed to live up to that? And so he gave me Trauma Chose. And when I wrote the book, if you read the subtitle, our subtitle is, if I knew I had a choice, I would have chosen to make a choice every time. A lot of us go through life and we don't understand that trauma is actually making decisions and choices on our behalf because we identify our lifestyles as quote unquote normal. There's a chapter in my book, and it's titled Natural versus Normal. A lot of us try to live up to society's definition of normal, when in actuality it should be natural. What are the natural things that happened in your environment? What are the natural things that you grew up around? And those things shaped how you view life, how you navigate it through life, or how you navigate through life. And so the reason I wrote the book is because a lot of times when I go out into the field, I'm a presenter and I'm a licensed therapist. And so people always say, Coach, that was deep, or Coach, that was profound. And my coach told me, Coach, you're dope, but you need to create something that people can take you home with them. And so I wrote the book.
That was good.
Thanks.
Yeah, and people definitely need to take you home with them, because when it comes down to coaching and helping people with their emotional intelligence and understanding that it's a choice, a lot of people don't understand. Even with us talking about, if I knew I had a choice, I would have chosen each time, every time. Like, people, that may still skip over a lot of people. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Like, break it down, all the way down to where people can understand that line.
So I love how you articulated that. When we go through life, a lot of trauma that happens to us is in our childhood. And so things happen to us. So when trauma happens to us, it takes our choice away. And so as a child, you just navigate through life and you don't have the tools yet to be able to either say no or stop or leave me alone. You don't know these things. And so a lot of times we have no choice. And so when we go through life, those traumas that we experienced as children, they manifest different as adults. So I'll give you an example. So as a child, say if your father was abusive or you grew up in an abusive household, and you thought that was the normalcy. You thought yelling and not necessarily hitting, but maybe yelling and raising your voice, you thought that was a natural way of being. And so when you start to navigate through life as a young adult and into your adulthood, you unintentionally start to focus, or your attention is drawn to others that may yell or that may raise their voice or that may be considered assertive, but in actuality, you're choosing or you're engaging based on what you're used to as a child, but not understanding that it may look to you like it's just yelling or like it's just assertiveness, but in actuality, it could be narcissism. So it just manifests differently in your adulthood versus when you're a child. And so still you're navigating through life not understanding, why am I choosing these people? It can be in business, it can be in friendship, it can be in relationships, or I would say situationships, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but you're unintentionally drawn to these individuals because of what happened to you in your childhood. And so in my book, it talks about how we're not aware of those things until our awareness is heightened. And most of the time we don't have a desire for our awareness to be heightened unless we have a desire to connect. And that's what I talk about in my book: ships, relationships, friendships, partnerships. When we have that desire to connect and then we can't, it starts to heighten our awareness, where we start to self-reflect. We say to ourselves, okay, I want to do business with this person, but how come they're not calling me back? Or how come I can't connect in this friendship? What is it? And most of the time, either the person ghosted you or left, or you don't have that connection with them. And so you have to self-reflect. And then you start to heighten your awareness around, okay, wait, what is it that I did? Or what is it in the way of me connecting to these individuals that brought me to this self-awareness?
And sometimes it's not even about people ghosting you and not being able to connect. Sometimes it's because you're connecting to the wrong people every single time.
Absolutely.
You're connecting the same person that look different in a different body. It's just we're choosing the same type of people because of what happened that we never addressed in our past.
Absolutely.
That is so deep. And so when you talk about, a lot of times people don't even know to address it until something happened. What about when things are not, like I tell my boys all the time, let's not find yourself in a situation where now you're at the bottom and now you're trying to address the things that happened in the past that should have been addressed then. But now you're my age, 47, and now you're addressing it. Like, how can people start addressing things early on? Because I feel like we all have trauma.
Absolutely.
I feel like everyone have some type of trauma. And so why are we waiting until something happened in a ship, right, to address those problems? Because if we address those issues prior, then we will not be in a lot of the ships.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll pick to get in a different ship,
right? Absolutely. That's a great question. I will say that a lot of times we don't know that we're doing these things. It's because our awareness is not heightened. As a mother,
back to the
right. You as a mother, you see certain things in your children that others can't see, right? So you're telling your boys, okay, you know what? I see that you navigate that situation when you're playing ball, and you need to, work on your temper, right? But you see that as a mother. It may be something that your sons don't see in themselves yet. They may not see it as an issue. They may not see it as a challenge. They may just see it as, that's aggression. I just need to channel it into the game. But not realizing that, when they're off the court, they find themselves in, a relationship and they raise their voice. They just, it's, as adults, again, until we have a desire to connect, most of the time it doesn't bother us. It doesn't force us to face ourselves.
Wow.
A lot of times we don't face ourselves. We're scared to look in the mirror. That's why, we when trauma happens to us, Most of the time, we don't even know that it's trauma. Most of the time, these things happen to us, and then we just go through life. And then when something comes up again, it's like, how come I'm feeling this emotion? So just to give a definition, not a definitive definition of trauma, but a operational definition. Trauma is the emotional response to the experience. So it's not the experience itself. That's why sometimes when we go through life, we feel a certain emotion and we're like, hold on a second, this feels comfortable. This feels familiar, but I don't know where it's coming from. It's most of the time it's a trigger. It triggers something we see, smell, or we observe, triggers something in us, and we start to feel a certain emotion. And the only time, not the only time, but one of the main things that we can do is we can take that trigger and say to ourselves, okay, hold on a second, where's this coming from? Why am I feeling like this? But ultimately, to answer your question, it's intentionality. That's one of my key words for like the last 2-3 years. God gave that to me. Intentionality. When I show up in the spaces that I show up in, no matter what it is that I'm doing, I'm trying to be intentional. And that's what you can express to your voice. I want you to be intentional. When you go into, your game, I want you to be intentional in being aware of how you carry yourself, how you respond to certain things. Some people may think to themselves like, that's too much. I can't pay attention to everything that I'm doing. But you know what you do, which causes certain reactions, and it causes you personally to feel a certain way. That's your awareness starting to happen.
Yeah.
That's a starting point.
What was the moment you said that I can't live in survival mode anymore?
That's a really good question. It took me a long time to heal from this in order to speak to it. But it was the period of time when I went through my divorce. I was in my early 30s, and I was literally in survival mode. I was working, taking care of 3 children, a total of 4 kids, and literally just waking up, going through the motions. And the only peace that I would get is when I slept in my mother's bed. And that was like during lunchtime. Any possible chance or opportunity that I got to be able to lie in my mother's bed, I did. And all I remember praying was, God, I need relief. I just need relief. I feel like I can't breathe. And so I got to a point where I was praying, and I still to this day don't believe in divorce. I align with the Bible, even though I had to. But what I realized is
we're gonna go back there too. So
okay.
Go ahead.
I realized that after all that I tried, my mother had to tell me, Janicia, you tried every single, you exhausted all your options. And to have that come from my mother, that meant a lot. And so I started to pray not only for relief, I prayed for release. And once I prayed for release, God released me, and I was able to transition. Now it took me about 2 to 3 years to heal, my healing process. But in that time frame, I was able to get the content to write my book, and I started to move from survival mode to existing and now living.
So someone was coaching you. Someone was helping you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think throughout life, we all need help. We all need support. But I realized depending on who you're speaking to, it's all about word choice.
Yeah.
So if someone is going through things and ego is playing a huge part in them not wanting to accept what they're going through, because it takes acceptance. You have to know that when we're talking about heightening your awareness, you can heighten your awareness around something, but you get to a point where you actually have to accept what's happening. I'll give you an example. My daughter, I told her, I was like, do you know you're beautiful? And she looked at me, she said, yes, Mom, but I just need to accept it. And that was profound to me. And I thought to myself, I'm like, that's what we do with a lot of things that we go through in life. We see that we need to go a certain way, or this is actually happening, but we don't accept that it's happening. And so when we accept that, we get to a point where we can start to seek out support intentionally. And support looks different for everyone. Therapy, it may look like joining a church. It may look like, for a lot of people, which the trauma continues, jumping into other relationships. Sometimes we get out of one relationship and then someone else shows us attention and then we jump right back in.
Get that too.
We jump right back into another relationship and the trauma cycle continues.
Because you didn't take the time to self-reflect, look in the mirror, and deal with you.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time. It's hard. The hardest thing to do is to look in the mirror and say, something in you need to come out.
Yes.
Something in you. Nobody else. We're not thinking about the friends, the ex-husbands. I'm not thinking about anybody else. I'm thinking about you, the person who I'm looking at in the mirror. Let's deal with you. And to look in the mirror and say, dang, I do have this about me. Oh, I do this and I do that. It's not sometimes. It's very hard. It's very hard.
Why do you think it's hard?
It's hard to look in the mirror and say something is wrong with you.
Okay, go a little bit deeper. What is the challenging part?
Because who wants to look in the mirror to say, you're messed up? So who wants to look in the mirror and say, yeah, this right here in you, that's ugly. You know, now I can do it. You know, I can say something that was out of pocket and I quickly be like, sorry, that was ugly. I'm able to do it now. But before, I would try to justify why I said what I said, why I act the way I acted, why. It was always a reason, and the reason always came because someone else did this to me. So when you're looking in the mirror, you take everyone else out and you have to say, no, this is in you. How it got in you, it may not be your fault. I don't know. But it's your responsibility to get it out. Especially if you want to have good relationships.
Absolutely.
Good relationship with your kids, good relationships with your friends, your coworkers, your sisters, your siblings, like good relationships overall, you know?
Agreed.
And I think it's hard for people to hear that it's something like, when someone else was telling me this, like, you know, my sisters would tell me, you always want to argue. You always want to argue. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, I don't. But now I'm like, oh, I do. Oh, I remember my mom and dad told me, you should be an attorney because you always want to argue, you know? So I don't want to take all of that out of me, but I do want to channel that in the right places. You understand what I'm saying? And it was some ugliness inside of me. Like, why do I always got to prove a point? Why do I always want to have the last word? You know? And it was because when I was younger, I was always shut down. I was always told, be quiet. I was always told, girl, we can't even understand what you're talking about. Girl, be quiet. So in that, it was just like, no, don't tell me. Who are you? You ain't the boss of me. You ain't gonna tell me to be quiet. And it was just a little kid. And it just kept going as I became an adult. I remember, and my business partner would tell you this, Rob, I remember somebody told me, I'm the president. You report to me or something like that. And I looked and it was just like out of nowhere. I just busted out. Who the hell are you talking to? You ain't talking to me. And then my business partner had to jump in, was like, wait, hold up. But it was just that moment. And
you were triggered.
I understand now. I was triggered. I was triggered again when somebody's trying to silence me. And that feeling just came up right away. Now, if someone says that to me, I'm like, I may just laugh like, okay. You know, I might just let them say what they need to say and figure out how to address it outside the meeting, right? Before, it was no filters, you know? And it's not that I wasn't justified for saying what I needed to say, but it wasn't probably the time and place, right? And when you're dealing with trauma, especially if you ain't healed, you don't care where you at. You about to...
Trauma chooses how you dictate.
Exactly. So it all makes sense to me. But what I realized, again, it was things that was happening in my childhood that I never dealt with. That I never took the time to heal. And then also, you know, in my marriages, you know, I always felt like I wanted to make everyone happy. I wanted to please everyone. So if that means me saying no to me to say yes to you, I did that so much, you know, and I had to figure out, well, why are you doing that?
Yes.
Because I never felt beautiful. I never felt accepted. I never felt like, oh, because I, you know, I always thought my hair was real kinky. You know, it's just a lot. My teeth went every which way but the right way. So when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a pretty girl, even though everybody else used to say, girl, you pretty.
Yeah.
I didn't accept it.
Yeah.
You know? So then I grew up trying to get attention. And when I got the attention, I wanted to keep it. So I did anything to keep it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's
so good.
I'm not gonna say traumatic, but it's a cycle. It's a cycle that happens. That's a great, thank you for sharing that. And it's a great example of how trauma chooses and dictates our reactions, because there's a difference between reacting and responding. And when we're triggered, it's reactionary. We can't think through. And that's why trauma chooses how we react. So that's a great example.
No, that is so good. And knowing that we have the choice.
Yes.
Like, you have the choice to make a different decision.
Yes.
You have a choice. I mean, I think my wake up call was December 18th, 2024.
Oh, wow.
When, you know, I felt like something else was happening. It was going to be good. God was answering my prayers. And then I found myself, you know, waking up, not going, you know, I'm just going to say it. I found myself, my husband, my ex-husband to be, I remember him waking up early this morning. It was I think it was like a Thursday or Friday morning. I think it was a Thursday. And he came over, he was leaving. I just knew it was early. You know, I'm like, it's like 6:20. Normally he leaves the house about 6:50. And I said, oh, where you going? And he said, oh, I'm going to work early. You know, I'm about to go to Starbucks or whatever. And quickly I was like, oh, okay. So then he walked over, put his hands on my head, prayed for me, okay, and kissed me on my forehead. And he walked out the door. And when he did that, something still wasn't right. You know how the spirit would just tell you, that ain't right. That ain't right. Yeah. And so I remember heading over, I was at the nail shop, and I said, you know what? He never went to work. This is just me. Like, it wasn't me. It was Holy Spirit, I say. And I said, he never went to work. But Holy Spirit didn't tell me to take my butt over there. When I tell you, I allowed trauma to make the choice for me, because I quickly went into, I have a feeling, right? And betrayal. How can he kiss me on the forehead and walk out of here and go? And I went over there and I saw the car and I knocked on that door. And it was just like trauma, like everything just came over me. And that day, I remember it so vividly. Like, I just remember exactly what happened. I just kept knocking on the door, and he walks out and he said, go home, Sharie. Go home. I'll be there later. Go home, Sharie. And at that moment, I realized this is not for me. God wants something more for me. And that's where I had to accept, like, what made you come over here? Mind you, I'm just going to say it. I ended up in the back of a police car because he lied. No, I was banging on the door. The cops came.
Oh, wow.
Girl, I did something like, oh, you came over here to whatever. Didn't touch him, didn't hit him. He lied. He wanted me out of there because his little thing. But I ended up going to jail that day. And that day was the last time God said, you have to make a different decision. You have to make a decision. Like, once I saw his car, I should have just said, okay, this is where he's at. Let me just go home. Let me go pack his stuff up. Let me just be done. But it took me just going, like, knocking on the door, come outside. And it's just like that moment, I realized, Sharie, you got to make different decisions. A couple of different decisions. You got to make a different decision on how you're picking, right? And then how you are reacting. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't even worth it. I could have chose different, right? And I did. That day, I chose different. And I felt like that was God talking to me, and I never looked back. That's what God released me. Because for the first 2 years, I was praying and praying and praying. And I was listening to the church mothers. And like you said, I wanted to go back to you saying that you don't believe in divorce, right? I was stuck on that too. And I was willing to stay in an unhealthy relationship, an unhealthy marriage, because I felt like if I do this, God will be upset.
That's in my book. That's literally in my book.
So how did you get past that? Let me tell you, I know how I got past it. I was just like, you know what? God does not love him more than he loves me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I am his child, just like he is his child.
Absolutely.
And if he refused to submit, if he refused to honor what God has put together, then God, I know that you don't want me here just taking it.
Absolutely.
So I feel like he released me.
Absolutely.
I don't think he released me from the things he have called me to do.
Correct.
I think my calling is still on my life, but he walked away from it. And I feel like God is going to replace it with someone else.
Absolutely.
Like the mission goes on.
Absolutely.
The promise goes on.
Absolutely.
So you tell me, like, what? That was deep, because, you know, the church mother, stay with, pray him back home.
Yeah.
Pray him back home.
You know, I grew up with church mothers, but my grandmother was one of the church mothers. But my mom, she's 73 now, and I really didn't listen to the church mothers. It was the way that I grew up. Divorce is bad. Divorce is bad. Until I got into my own marriage. I saw my parents married. My father passed away. I think it's been 15 years now. They would have been married for like over 40 something years. But what I realized, I was stuck, like you said, on divorce is not okay biblically. Don't get a divorce. But when I started to go through my own stuff, I think that's the most I've ever prayed in my life. And I sought out 3 different pastors for marital counseling. The stuff that I saw and experienced in these spaces really shifted me, especially now that I'm a therapist. What I realized is, and this is my own experiences, that some people who are pastoring don't have the mantle to be able to counsel. And I learned that the hard way. And so
I like that pause. Some pastors who are pastoring does not have the mantle to be counseling.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because what happened was, one of the pastors was projecting the way that he interacted with his wife onto myself and my ex-husband. And it wasn't right. And I asked God, I said, Lord, how am I supposed to navigate this situation? Because it seems as though he's understanding my ex-husband because they're males, or I'm not sure. And so God was like, do your research on a mediator. And I was like, what? So I did research on a mediator. And what I found out is a mediator is the middle person, which automatically takes the side of the aggressor, or of the, what's the opposite of the victim?
The person
who's causing the harm. The person who's causing the harm. So back to your, I'm going to your answering your question, but ultimately I was stuck
on. So a mediator automatically go towards the person who's more aggressive.
No. So in my research, a mediator is the middle person, which automatically, as the middle person, they agree and take sides with the person who's creating the harm, as well as the person who is the victim. Does that make sense? They can't choose sides. So they're automatically going,
they're going back and forth.
Yes. But in my situation, it seemed as though it was more so toward my ex-husband. Long story short, I was like, God, I don't believe in divorce. I'm trying to do your will. I don't know what to do. You said when you join 2 things together, let no man pull it apart. I'm trying to do this, and I want to honor you. So I tried to stay as long as I could, not understanding the healthy part of things. And when I got into my marriage, I started to read more and more scriptures. And then I came to a scripture that said, God has called us to peace. That was my scripture of release. And I was like, wait, Lord, what? And God was like, I didn't call you to chaos. I didn't call you to stay in unhealthy relationships. You know what a healthy relationship is. I gave you your parents. I gave you to your parents. You saw what a healthy relationship is. And with me growing up in church, I was like, that's what I wanted so badly that I couldn't let my marriage fall apart. So I had to question myself. Now, was it me trying to honor God, or was it me trying to justify my choice?
Come on.
Right? And so in staying in that marriage, I fought. But then one thing I told my ex-husband, I said, one thing I can't do is fight you for you, because you're going to win every single time. It's a fight that's been set up for you to win. Why am I going to sit here and exhaust myself? I'm not going to fight you for you. You won.
Yeah.
Bye. You won. And so I had to wait, and that's when I prayed, and then God released me.
That is so God.
That
was good. That was good, Carlos, huh? Man, that was good. Man, that was so good. Because I can relate so much on that. Like praying and fighting and fasting and worrying and calling down everything to like, God help me, and I'm groaning in the spirit, and I'm trying to pray over my husband, and I'm like, okay, he got this on him and that on him, and he's just like, you know, like me just really spiritually trying to fight.
Yes.
And me listening to certain people telling me, that's your husband, that's your husband. And I remember it was my other two pastors, and they told me, they said, Sharie, God does not love him more than he loves you. And he would never sacrifice you to save another.
Wow.
That right there. And they told me that prior. But that day, when all that stuff happened, it clicked to me. It's like, no, if he is choosing this, let him. Let him. And then I remember me and, you know, my ex-husband, we went to Pastor Todd Church. And so I'm listening to all the prophecies, you know, you guys going to have a ministry. You guys going to have a marriage ministry. Oh, I see it now. They don't know anything about it. They're walking up and they're just speaking it. And I'm like, marriage ministry. Yeah, well, how did they know? We do marriage stuff at the house, and we do this and we do that. And I'm holding on to all these promises, right? But I'm like, okay, year one, this happened in 2023. Now we in 2024. Now we in 2025. It's like, God. And I remember it came back to me. The guy said, even when he runs, God will chase him down all the way to his grave. That's what he said. And so what that told me was that it's not even up to you. This is a fight between him and God.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with you.
Yes.
You got to deal with what's in you.
Yes.
So you don't have to be in this situation again.
Yes.
But everything that woman walked up those stairs and prophesied is still on your life. Because I'm thinking I need to help God make sure that this comes to pass.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to help God, so I'm going to stay. And I'm going to pray. And I'm going to do this. And this man is totally like a narcissist. He's so good. Where I was believing the things that he was saying about me. So I know everybody else was believing the things that he was saying about me, because I believed it. Until the scales came off my eyes. And I just looked and I heard God said, I never chose him from the beginning for you. Like, you guys did this. And just at that moment, I just said, God, next time I'm waiting. I'm waiting on you. I am not going to move until you tell me to move. And this is what I said. I said, I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to heal. Because I'm not sure if you've ever been with a narcissist. They will have you believing that they would do something. And then, but mine was so good, he would have the phones. He'll record. He'll send videos. And so people will believe the things. I remember a friend told me, she said, Sharie, I got a video. And the person who I saw in that video, I did not recognize her. And so she started to believe some of the things that he was doing. And then I was like, well, how can you believe that you was in this with me? You saw this. And I stopped for a minute and I said, I don't blame you, because I was present in it and I believed what he was telling me about me. So I had to forgive her. And then she was like, you're right. And so that was fine. But it was so many other relationships that he was trying to come in between, and he was saying all these things about me, and he had the videos and he had the pictures. And I had to get to the point where I was like, you know what, God, who do you say I am?
There it is.
And then things just start opening up. He starts showing me, like, remember when this happened in 2018? And I totally forgot about it. And he said, remember when this happened in 2019? I totally forgot about it. Like, I was so overwhelmed. Well, I won't even use the word overwhelmed. I was so consumed with what he was saying. I believed everything he said. But once the scales start coming off, God started showing me like, baby, this was happening in 2017. This was happening in 2015. He was trying to get my play mom that was living, in the Bay Area, telling them that they need to intervene and have this and have that. And it was so funny. One of my friends came to me and she said, Sharie, I had to step away from you back then because I saw what he was doing and I couldn't stand there and take it. And you would not believe me. You would have took his side. And so now she's back around, but it's just like, what caused me to choose a person like that? And so the work, I know I still have more work to do, but I just never want to find myself in that position to where I'm choosing wrong or I'm allowing my trauma to choose for me.
Absolutely.
Right? Because the healing and what we had to go through, even though I believe it's for the glory of God and it's a testimony for us to share, right? With other people that may be going through it too. But I just keep saying my next half of my life, I don't got the time to be.
Absolutely.
I want to get it right. At least this right. At least my relationship. It's going to be other things that I'm going to have to face, but I want to get this right. I want to get this Sharie right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It resonates so much. There's a couple of things that came up for me when you were talking about the prophecies. That's very similar things happened to myself and my ex-husband. And what God showed me was obedience. You're being obedient. You're trying to align. But because there's misalignment and the obedience is not from both sides, the prophecy is not going to come to pass at this time, right? And so I was like, well, God, like you said, I was trying to get him in alignment. I'm like, okay, we're going to go to church. We're going to be there Wednesday nights and Friday nights when they have youth service. We're going to get you saved. You can get the Holy Ghost, all these things. I'm just, like you said, trying to help God, not realizing that God has a plan and purpose for my life individually. And God has a plan and purpose for his life individually. And it ultimately comes back to what you said. I didn't put that together. I didn't put that together. And so that's the first thing that came to my mind. The second thing that came to my mind was how people will pray because they're on the outside looking in, not understanding that what happens behind closed doors. And I never forget, there was a young lady who was going to my church, and I was going through a very, very hard time during my marriage. And I was talking to her about it. I would go down to her job. We would take walks. And I never forget, I told her, I said, I've come to a place where God has released me and I'm going to let him go. And she looked at me and she said, I'm going to keep praying for you, sister. And I said, please do. And she said, but I'm going to pray that your marriage works and that you all stay together. And I looked at her and I said, can I ask you a question? I said, if I'm saying that God released me and it's time for me to go, why would you pray against what God just told me to do? And she said, because I believe that God still wants you all together. I believe that that's what God wants. And I looked at her and I said, okay, you take care. That's the last time I ever spoke to her, last time I saw her. Because sometimes people try to pray it their way, not understanding that that's not what God wants. And so
that can be considered witchcraft.
Yes.
It's like you're trying to pray your will on me instead of God's will. What she should have said was, I'm going to pray that God's will be done.
Yes. People don't get it.
Pray
against
that
me.
This right here is coming together when I just told you that God just released me. No, if you pray anything, just pray God will be done. If I'm not for sure, if God has not told me, if you telling me that God told you something, my prayer is that God, okay, I know what I heard, but maybe I'm off. Maybe I'm off. I'm going to pray that your will be done.
Absolutely.
I pray that we have clarity. I pray for understanding. I pray for peace. I pray his will.
That part.
Not ours.
That part. The last thing that came to me when you were talking, I never forget, it was toward the beginning of my marriage. And I was like, I can't do this, God. I don't know what's happening. I want to be the wife that you called me to be. I was so focused on being the wife that he's called me to be, not paying attention to my ex-husband not being the husband that God's called him to be. And I never forget, my cousin came down to my job and I was sharing with her what was going on. And she told me, she said, he broke the covenant a long time ago. And I said, wait, what? She said, he broke the covenant a long time ago. God's called him to be a husband. And she used scripture. And I was just like, wait, I had never heard it like that before, the way she put it. And it put things into perspective for me, because I was just like, I'm thinking I'm breaking the covenant by wanting to leave because it was unhealthy. It was an abusive situation. And so I was just like, this is not something God has called me to. And I stayed in it longer because I needed my own release. But to hear that perspective, and hopefully this can help someone, that when the covenant is broken, being able to understand that sometimes it's not your fault. Sometimes you can't control it. And in my book, that's what I talk about, that I wanted to honor God so much in my marriage that I didn't want to let it go, even though it was unhealthy. Not understanding that the same God that was in it with me is the same God that's still here with me today.
Come on.
So I just, it's sometimes we stay stuck when we don't have to.
Yeah. And the same God that walked you through the disappointment, the same God that walked you through the heartbreak, but also walked you through the healing.
Yes, absolutely.
Like the same God.
Yeah, same God.
The same God. And that is so good. I mean, I just feel like right now is so many women that is going through, and men too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's men that's going through it too.
Absolutely.
That needs to understand trauma and choosing and a choice and all that. It's just, we need to understand it because,
This is, so just the 3 points in this book. The first one is, this book was written, God told me, he said, when you present this book, don't tell people that this book will change their lives. What I want you to tell people is that this book is a opportunity for you to change your life. And there's 3 points. The first point is, this book will heighten your awareness. The second reason why I wrote it is because it helps us understand our whys. And thirdly, it's a book to help us think past our own thinking. I always ask the question, well, how am I supposed to know how to do different? What are my options now that I know that I have choice? And I realized we have to be exposed to different ways of doing things, exposed to different perspectives, exposed to different ways of thinking. And so in my book, it does give you a lot of different perspectives, theories. There's one chapter in here that starts a conversation that is never ending, and it is, guilt is not real. A lot of us, we get stuck in guilt. I'm not going to get into it, but a lot of us get stuck in guilt, not understanding that it's not even real. That's my theory. So, okay. So I'm just going to read a little bit from it so that it kind of makes sense. Okay. So it's on page 17. Guilt is not real. I hear people say that guilt is a feeling, hence the phrase, I feel guilty. But what I've come to realize is that guilt isn't a feeling at all. Guilt is a thought, one that many of us rest in because strangely, it brings comfort. If I say I am guilty, I no longer have to face, talk about, or even confront the decisions or details of the situation that led me to feeling guilty. It's like a mental escape, one that keeps me from digging deeper. Some may ask, so why do I feel guilty if guilt isn't real? The real question should be, what am I trying to escape to eliminate my responsibility and or accountability in this situation? I have the thought of guilt, but what is at the core emotion behind the guilt? So ultimately, on the side, I always have a quote on the other side of the chapter that's profound in the chapter, but it says, guilt is a decision that is ultimately a choice.
That's good.
And I never forget, and it's the way that this chapter came about. I was speaking to my therapist at the time, and it's funny because he was a white male, and I didn't really choose him. I just prayed and I said, Lord, take me to who can help me through this. And I was trying to heal from my divorce. I want to get whatever bitterness, resentment, whatever else was in there that I couldn't heal on my own with. I wanted to get some more insight. And so I was sharing with a therapist. I said, I just feel guilty. I feel like there's so many different choices that I could have made, during the time of my divorce. And I just want to be able to let it go. And he said, guilt is not real. And I looked at him and I said, excuse me? And he said, guilt is not real. And I said, hold on a second. And I paused and I said, explain to me how guilt is not real. And he looked at me, he said, you explain to me how guilt is, because I was there. He said, you explain to me. And I said to him, guilt is a default, ultimately a choice, because if I choose to feel guilty, it eliminates me from sitting in the emotions that are attached to the situation that I was trying to get away from. If I say that I'm guilty, right? So if we go to court and the judge says, do you plead guilty or not guilty? It's a choice. I say I plead not guilty. I'm intentionally making a choice to say I'm not guilty based on whatever is being held against me. So if I feel guilty based on me and the decisions that I made in my marriage, or some decisions I made in my marriage, it's like, okay, if I feel guilty, I therefore can kind of release everything else that's tied to me making other choices. I can rest in feeling guilty. No one's going to question my guilt. If someone says they feel guilty, it's like, oh, I'm back up because they feel guilty. So they're being hard on themselves already. I don't need to ask them anything else outside of that. But in actuality, it's me saying I feel guilty because that's the easiest thing for me to do. I don't have to go further than guilt. Once I choose guilt, that's it.
So you don't do the work.
There it is.
That made the decisions for whatever you did to make you feel guilty.
Yes.
So guilty is the outcome of making a poor decision and having the outcome be whatever the outcome's gonna be. And you're just saying, I feel guilty. But it doesn't address what you did
to get me
to get you to the point where you
made the decision that I don't feel comfortable in making. So it's dismissing the comfort. It's dismissing whatever else is after me feeling guilty. And it may not be the tone of kind of like you said, oh, I feel guilty, so then it just excuses me. Some of us, it's easier to default to guilt because we know that there's nothing after that. We're not going to be questioned. But if I say, oh, I'm feeling sad because, I went through a divorce. Well, why do you feel sad? What happened? And then the questioning goes on and on and on. But if I say, I feel guilty, there's like a pity party that people have. They're not going to question your guilt because it's a choice that you made to place that guilt on you. Therefore, I don't have to hold myself accountable. Now, I do hold myself accountable for things that I did in my marriage that I didn't believe that was right. Like one thing is I held my ex-husband to the caliber or the expectation of my father. And my dad worked 3 jobs. He was like hardcore. I'm taking care of my family. My ex-husband wasn't like that. He kept a job. But at the same time, I was just like in between when he didn't. I was like, what are you doing? You can walk. You got a bike, because that's what my dad did, not understanding that our marriage is different we're different people. Yeah. And so that's why I say guilt is not real.
So I don't think I ever used the word guilty a lot. So I'm trying to understand that. So I don't use the word guilty. Like I will say, you know what? When people be like, okay, what happened in your marriage or what happened over here? I'm quick to say, I used to say, well, they did this or they did this or they did that. Or I'll say, I'm trying to understand
the guilt. So let me
understand the guilt, because I don't think I'd be like, oh, I feel so guilty for not
shame.
I don't know when would I be guilty.
So let's attach shame to guilt. Okay. So in the situation of divorce, there's shame that comes with divorce. Like we're talking about being raised in church, right? I feel shameful because I discredit my family by getting a divorce or by having a child out of wedlock, right?
And I feel guilty because now my kids don't have.
There it is. They don't have their dad around because
or their stepfather in the house anymore. I feel guilty because
it was my choice. Yes.
Okay.
Not understanding, and you just take me to a whole nother level. Not understanding that my trauma chose this man, right? But then people will blame us. People will say, well, you chose him. When you talk about, the situations that you're going through, oh, well, you chose him. Well, I feel guilty now that I picked a man like that.
To even bring them around. And you know what? I can relate because I just said that. I felt guilty because I chose this person to be involved in my kids' lives, who can now just disappear, not talk to them, not call them, not check in. And you raise... I always think about my son, Aiden. Aiden was only 3 years old.
Wow.
And when he walked away from me, he walked away from my boys. So I did say, dang, I feel bad because, or I feel bad because he didn't show up to Adrian's graduation. It was to the point where my kids was like, Mom, really? Like, nah, don't feel that way. But I think I did say guilty. I felt guilty in that sense. So, yeah.
And it doesn't have to necessarily be the actual word guilty. Like you said, I feel bad. That's interchangeable, right? I feel bad because I made the decision to choose this person, not understanding that you chose the person years ago. That's a different version of you, right? That you were a different age, you had different situations that were going on in your life. There's different traumas that you were trying to navigate, right? And so that chose for you. But people will say, okay, wait, that's taking the accountability away. No, that's a portion of it, right?
I think that it's okay. I don't think it's okay. I think it's okay to to make sure you hold yourself responsible for making decisions, right? But once you understand you made that decision, and if you do the work of healing, then you automatically know that it really wasn't the grown Sharie doing the work.
Good.
Making the decision.
That's
it
good.
was really, and I say Makia, you know, that's my little girl in me. I say that was really Makia choosing for Sharie. And so now, Makia's not choosing for Sharie. In my next relationship, the next man that I bring around my boys that are now men, I'm gonna make sure that Makia is in the back seat and Sharie, the healed version, you know, the Sharie who did the work is now choosing better.
Okay, so I just got a visual. So when I speak to different people, when they tell me about certain situations in their life, I can tell them what age they're stuck at when it comes to their trauma or when it comes to the trauma that they're experiencing. So when you were saying that, you said the young girl in you chose at that time what specifically she needed, right? So for me, that young Janicia was choosing a protector. That's what I saw in my ex-husband. And that overrode everything else. So the aggression that he showed me was protection, not understanding that the aggression was toward me and he was supposed to protect me. But the little Janicia, because I was daddy's little girl, daddy passed away. So now I have no covering. Who's going to protect me? So the first person who showed, not the first person, but one of the individuals who showed me, I can protect you and your kids. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Where are we going to do this at? Not understanding like what you just said. Little Janicia was choosing to protect her. It wasn't Janicia at the age of 30 because Janicia wouldn't have chose him.
I can so relate.
Yeah.
No, that is so good. And understanding and making sure that our little girls inside of us is not choosing for our adult.
That's really good.
And in order to make those decisions, we have to do the work. So we can choose.
Yes, there is.
That is so good. Man, we got to come back again. This is so good.
Absolutely.
This is so good. Yeah.
I enjoyed myself.
Inner work, kid work. Y'all, thank you so much. I know we went over and it was a lot of pausing because I feel like even when we're talking, I'm like getting
processing.
I'm like, oh my God, I got to go study that. I got to go study this because that's exactly what was happening. We keep choosing from our childhood and whatever was going on at that moment when we got that disappointment, right? When I didn't have someone take up for me. So if I finally have somebody who's speaking up for me, I'm attaching myself. But I'm not looking at every other thing. And that's the reason why also I said, you know, with me transitioning again to being single, it's like, Sharie, this next round, you better date these folks for a whole 4 seasons because you want to be able to see them in all seasons. And I want them to be able to see me in all seasons, not just the happy Sharie, but I need you to see me being stressed. I need you to see me dealing with death, maybe. I need you to see me in all 4 because I want you to know that you can deal with me. And I need to see how you deal with me in all those 4. So that is so good. I want to have you back and have a conversation again. This book is on Amazon, right?
It's not on Amazon. I'm actually self-published. So if you go to coach -jae.com, you're free to purchase my book on my website.
Okay, so we'll make sure that we type that out and put it on there. You guys get this book. I mean, honestly, I'm really thinking about doing a book, not a book club, but like getting some women together.
I love that.
Where we can
discuss
really
it and break it down.
Discuss this book and break it down because I know it's so many people that's going through different things.
Absolutely.
Maybe not even, you know, marriages, but kids or family, just mother, father, you know, just a lot. Just ships.
That's
relationships.
There it is. Yep.
So you guys get the book. If you guys are interested in joining a group where we discuss this book, read it, discuss it, and process it, heal together.
Yes.
Drop it in the comments. All right, y'all. Thank you again.
Take care. Have a good night.
So good. This was really, really